One of the emerging terms growing on the internet is that of third worldism. Basic premise is that you are a supporter of regimes like Iran and Russia, basically any regime or country that's in opposition to the West, to the global American empire. Now, I've got mixed feelings on third worldism. On the one hand, I'm not a fan of the current global American empire. I would like to see its end. It's not our empire, it's Israel's empire. And thus the forces fighting it in a way you can support. On the other hand, as well, though, you do almost have this kind of like inner cucking supporting these powers because fundamentally they don't like us, right? Even if we had a based regime, I'm for sure certain they'd still probably be our geopolitical enemies. So we're kind of just going to quickly discuss our opinions on third worldism, maybe even come to a conclusion on whether it's a good position to uphold or a bad position to uphold. I don't know where you come down on it, Muslim bro.
Very quickly before I give you my opinion, Christian bro, please, if you're watching this, leave a comment. Let us know what you think about third worldism. Maybe hear our points first, and then we'd love to hear your points. There's probably going to be something nuanced that we didn't think about. My perspective, Christian bro, on third worldism is primarily the fact that you have to focus on the enemy at hand, focus on the task at hand. Currently, the global American empire, does not serve Britain. It does not serve the Western countries. In fact, it does not serve America itself. And to, let's say, want to support Hamas in their struggle against Israel, want to support Iran in their struggle against Israel as well, to want to support Putin in his struggle against the West, what you're fundamentally doing is not supporting these people's power or drive for power. What you're supporting is their current fight against your current enemy. Because let's say theoretically that Putin ends up, I don't know, building Russia into the empire that it was in the 60s and 50s, right? Let's just assume that happens. And now all of a sudden there's another Cold War of some kind or another war between East and West. At that point, if the people who were in charge of Britain put all their agendas aside to support Israel, or all their agendas aside to be pro-immigrant, and they went, okay, cool, we need to focus on Russia because they're an actual threat to us now, then you'd be wrong to support third worldism because your immediate enemy is Russia. However, in our current situation, the immediate enemy is not Russia, and it's not Iran, and it's not Hamas, as, what's his name, Douglas Murray would tell us. Who it is very simple. It's the elites in power. It's the globalists. It's the Zionists, and they're the ones who we should be fighting against. And when you're supporting these powers, the caveat I want to add to my point as well is that you have to be supporting them in their struggle, not in their pursuit of power. Because the second you start cucking for Russia to, yeah, nuke me. Come on, Russia, nuke London, get rid of the current power. You're basically asking for millions of people to die. For what? Right? Like the regime change might not happen that way. Exactly. That's the extremity, of course. And again, you wouldn't support Iran completely becoming the hegemon in the Middle East. How does that serve you either? It doesn't really serve you. So only supporting these third world countries or these, quote unquote, being a third worldist only benefits you and should only be something you care about, or you should only support them if they're fighting against your current and most pertinent enemy, which is the current regime.
Yeah, I like that framing. It basically boils down to then the enemy of my enemy is my friend. It's that sort of perception. Because like fundamentally, how many people, is Iran the one letting millions of immigrants into our country? Is it Iran that's actually genuinely causing the downfall of our civilization, that's eroded our culture? It's not. That's America. That's the Israeli-led American empire that's done that. Now, and I agree, until we get rid of that hegemony over us, Iran isn't a threat to us. Iran is the one fighting that. So I do kind of agree. I think it just goes a bit too far, though, when you see these kind of, as you say, please Putin nuke us, right? That's where it gets a bit too silly. That's where you are cucking. I also saw this layout when in the Sahel, I don't know if you remember, like 3 years ago it was, when a lot of like French-backed regimes in the Sahel got replaced by Russian-backed regimes. That's broadly, I don't care about Africa enough to really support this, right? In a way, from our perspective, we should probably be wanting at least a bit of soft power in that region, right? Instead of just celebrating every single defeat of the empire. But in cases like Iran, I think, yeah, it can be acceptable in a way to support them. They're fighting against the system that fundamentally hates us. And they hate us too in Iran. Let's never forget that, right? Even if we had a based regime, they probably still would hate us. But the point is we don't have a based regime, and they hate that regime. So as the logic of the enemy of my enemy is my friend, perhaps we should support them. even if it doesn't actually have any practical benefit for them. I don't think they care too much that some blokes on the internet are cheering them on that much.
Yeah, 100% Christian, bro. One last point I think is quite funny to make is that this is bearing in mind that at this point, whatever country you're from, let's say in the UK is working to be the global hegemon, or is working to regain its power. That's the point, right? Like the point isn't to cheer someone on while you stay there weakly doing nothing. The point is to cheer somebody on who's going to help you win your battle. That's kind of the point, right? Because if the UK and what we decide to do is just like we gave the extreme example of like, oh, Putin just nuke us. It's like, well, you're just lying over backwards. You're just lying down and taking it. What we assume is that we're fighting our battle and they're helping us fight our battle indirectly. The second our battle becomes with them, you can no longer support them. But your battle with them has to be justified in increasing your power, not increasing Israel's power or America's power or somebody other than you. Because fundamentally, actually, and we won't make this broader point, but fundamentally, in geopolitics, you should only care about your self-interest because every other state cares about its own self-interest. And so if it's in your self-interest to support them, cool. If it's not, stop. Because that's when we get into the kind of cucker territory.
Yeah, and I think it's about framing, isn't it? It's fine to kind of support an Iran as long as it's on the basis of this, it's against the regime. Where it goes too far is when you start kind of going into the kind of shit-lib mindset of, standing up to the oppressor, right? The frame shouldn't be that, right? You shouldn't be, and I'm not denying that the Palestinians are oppressed and are being genocided, but if you are to support them from a kind of base perspective, it's better to support them purely just from the angle of them being anti-Israel. If you support them from the kind of humanitarian ideal, you're just playing into the same kind of Americanized framework, liberal kind of paradigm, aren't you? Right? It should be, we support Palestine because they fight Israel. It's not we support Palestine because they're being oppressed, right? Because it's that same logic that's been used to attack and belittle us geopolitically. There's no difference, if anything, in them kind of using slavery as a critique against the West, right?
Yeah, that's a very good point. Very, very good
I think it's about frame. But yeah, I guess that's our conclusion on this one. Just a short video. But yeah, third worldism is fine as long as it's treated as the clear framework of the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Just don't become a shit.
Of course. Let us know your thoughts below. God bless you all. Take care of yourselves. And me and Christian, bro, we'll see you in the next one.